And we're live. It's No Driving Gloves, Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. I promised you 2 weeks ago we'd be here tonight. We're prepped. We're ready. We're going to go for the show. Excuse me. It's kind of a little bit out of the groove for me here. What am I thinking? I'm trying to get all the little computer screens in place here. Well, we won't worry about that right now. I guess I got to get one of these going. Got to make sure that we're out here talking to you. Live streaming. Yes, we are out there. I see my face here moving. So welcome to No Driving Gloves. Like I said, Thursday. It's John again. We're still working on figuring out the direction of the show. If we're going to keep this solo thing, if we're going to add a co-host, just keep tuning in. You know, we're going to keep giving you the gloves off approach to the collector car hobby. We got a few little topics I really want to cover tonight. We've got the new California Cars Act that passed about 2 weeks ago, and kind of got to look into that, dive into that a bit. Kind of said in the show description, for consumers, this thing looks really good, and it might be a car law that we want to get going nationwide. If you're a dealer, I'm sure you're a little bit against that one. It's kind of a rough go, I would say. It's not exactly what that people are wanting to see. Boy, brain pause. I want to talk a little bit about slow drivers, and are they really the menace that some of these latest reports say? I want to touch on an old VW that I came across an interesting article on. And then we're going to close out with the Generous Collection, which is a really weird name and a very odd car thing. But it goes back to, we used to do a podcast called Automobiles Alabama for one of the car groups in town. And the idea behind that podcast was to discuss automobiles in Alabama. I've made it very well known that as I moved out of the Washington, D.C. area, I saw a Ferrari on one of my last days there. And I go, that's the last Ferrari I'm going to see. Well, it turns out that's not really what happened. Kind of turns out that, what do I want to say? Cars in Alabama are really interesting, and it really annoys me. But we'll cover that towards the last quarter of the show. I'm kind of hemming and hawing around here, and I really don't want to be doing that anymore. Let me look some tabs here. Yeah, the Cars Act. On October 6th, Governor Gavin Newsom, he signed into law the California Combating Auto Retail Scams Act, or also known as the Cars Act. This is funny, in the state that just turned down Leno's law on historic plates and that, but this is legislation that looks to add a lot of consumer protections and transparency to the auto buying process. This is something that, like I said, I think would be good nationwide for automobile buyers. With as expensive as a car is, if you're buying a home, you think about it. And you think about it for a few minutes, and you think about it, a few minutes, couple of days sometimes. At least you've got a day, and then you've got ability to back out. And now with the price of automobiles, it's the second most expensive purchase that most people will ever make. And car payments, depending on what news report you're looking at and what source, the average new car payments $780. I think it's $784 to just over $1,000 a month, depending on the car. I watch Bow Ties and Benzes pops up on my Facebook all the time. And he's talking about lease payments, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a month. And we're supposed to make these decisions under pressure in 2 or 3 hours. And we're committing Bow Ties and Benzes, it's leases. So we're talking 24, 36 months a lot. But some of these people are committing for 60, 72 months, 84 months in some cases. And it's stretching consumers thin, and they don't necessarily understand everything that's going on. Part of this CARES Act that's being passed in California is it mandates that dealers provide clear disclosures regarding the total price of the vehicle and the voluntary add-ons that can be put on a vehicle. It's called the clear and conspicuous disclosures portion of the bill. In other words, you need to be told the actual total price of the vehicle, not all in monthly payments. You know, it's so easy to say, oh, it's only $690 a month. It's $700. But you go back to, I think it was my 2017 Velociter I was negotiating on. They gave me some payment. Matter of fact, when I was selling cars back in the mid-90s, this happened to a guy. They threw a payment at him on a Dodge Ram. At the time, Dodge Rams were $25,000. I think this Velociter was $21,000. And they threw a payment at me, and I multiplied the payment out, and I go, where the hell's this number? Because the payment came up to, something like $37,000. And I always have a interest calculator with me, and the payment should not have been that. The payment should have been $200 or $300 less. And though they hemmed and hawed, and we made a mistake. And they really didn't like somebody knowing what the payment should be and actually figuring out the total price of the car. And that's what this little portion of the bill does. It bans valueless add-ons to a vehicle. And we all know what this stuff is. In California, if you really look at the bill, it's very specific on what a valueless add-on is. Nitrogen in your tires is a valueless add-on. They can no longer sell you nitrogen-filled tires, provided it is less than 95% nitrogen in the tire. And I heard a discussion on this today, and it's something I've always said about nitrogen-filled tires. You have a tire, you mount it to a rim, you set the bead. There's air in that tire. You fill it with nitrogen, there's still regular air in that tire. And then now we get to play that percentage. Unless you fill that tire in a vacuum, it's not nitrogen filled. It's filled with air. So this $300, $400 upcharge. And then, of course, the first time you get a low tire pressure light, you can't just fill it with your compressor. Otherwise, you ruin your nitrogen-filled tires. They technically ruin them, but they're no longer nitrogen-filled. Technically, you should have to go back to the dealer. And a lot of dealers will charge you to put nitrogen in your tires off their special couple $1,000 thing that creates nitrogen. It's a joke. This also falls into ceramic coatings are prohibited in California now. A dealer can't add that to your vehicle. That one, maybe, maybe not. Door edge guards, window tinning. This, I think they specifically even said you can't sell serialized registration of your catalytic converter on vehicles without catalytic converters, i.e. they're selling you an electric car, but charging you a couple $100 to register the catalytic converter in case it gets stolen. And we've had a conversation on the podcast already about electric vehicles don't have catalytic converters. There's prohibition of misrepresentations, where dealers are prohibited from misrepresenting material and information about the sales and lying about the financing terms and the benefits of these add-ons that, like we've already said, really get specific on the valuelessness of them. Is that really a word, valuelessness? Yeah, it is now. I said it. And dealers have to keep records of their sales and that, basically demonstrating their compliance for 24 months after, for 24-month windows. That was initially proposed to be 7 years, but they took it to 24 months. And a 3-day right to cancel. This one's really interesting to me. I mean, the big players, I think Carvana, CarMax, I mean, even the Ford dealer I think I bought my Maverick at, they all offer you some sort of kind of couple a day. If you don't want the vehicle, you can bring it back. I know CarMax pushed that on me on a couple of vehicles I was looking at. You can drive it for up to 7 days. You can't put more than 300 miles on it, but you can bring it back and give it back to them and they'll give you another vehicle. That always, and even on this one, it's going to kind of, if you finance that vehicle, it really makes it complicated. If you traded a vehicle on that vehicle and you decided you didn't like that vehicle, will the dealership still have that trade to give back to you? Or the dealership's going to have to keep this trade for a period of, are they going to be required? It's kind of an interesting thing. I will bet that there's no requirement for the dealer to keep that trade. So they'll shuffle that off somewhere else, even if it's a different lot or whatever. So the trade's no longer available to give it back to you, which will force you into another car. But at least if you buy a junk vehicle or a vehicle that turns out you really didn't like it, or it was a stupid color, or you discover some sort of problem with it, you have 3 days to return the vehicle. Another one that they did throw into here is you have up to 10 days after you purchase a vehicle to go back to the dealership and purchase the extended warranty. Right now, even when I was purchasing recently, you had to buy the warranty at the time of purchase. Now you can return, I can, within 30 days, you can cancel that warranty and get a full refund, and there's no proration or anything involved. But you've got to buy the warranty when you buy the car. You can't decide later. I mean, you get your used car and you start driving and you go within a couple of days, maybe there's something wrong here. Maybe I really should get a warranty, or maybe I learned something about these cars that, say, go back to my Fiesta. You learn that there's a transmission issue with these cars. And then you don't think this is really going to happen to you, but it might happen to you, and you really like this car and, it works for what you want. You could go back to the dealership within 10 days of purchase and purchase an extended warranty if available. That's kind of a nice thing. It takes some of that pressure. Again, it's alleviating some of that pressure from you spending a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. I know years ago, the ex-girlfriend's Cadillac, she bought the extended warranty on that car, and they couldn't finance it in with the car. So it had to be a separate financing thing. And it was going to be like an additional $180 a month or something. But you got to make that decision there. I mean, you're already taking on a $600 or $500 car payment. And now you've got worried about this other $180. Now, granted, if they would have combined it into the financing of the car, maybe it would have that, because instead of being a 3-year note, it would have been a 6-year note or whatever. But it eliminates some of that pressure. Like I said, there's a lot of really good things in this bill. Again, it's called the California Combating Auto Retail Scams. It's really worth looking into. Everything I've seen about this, everything I've read about this is really, like I said, good for consumers. And maybe this one out of California will go nationwide. You will vary. I don't know if I've ever said that about anything car-wise out of California. any car law out of California that I want to see it go nationwide. This one, my gut feeling, I really want this one to go nationwide. So we'll jump on over to the slow drivers thing. And there's all these reports that have come out recently about slow drivers, and that slow drivers contribute to an increased risk of accidents. People that drive 10 miles an hour below the speed limit were 6 times more likely to be involved in a crash than those driving the speed limit. A study in the UK found the same, well, kind of the same thing, 10 miles an hour or less than the speed limit. You were 1.5 times more likely to be involved in a crash. And they blame it on the other drivers having to brake, do abrupt lane changes, etc. And this all goes back to common road courtesy. And if you think Autobahn, everybody thinks we should have the Autobahn and no speed limits. And I'm totally against that. A lot of my car views are anti-car, and it's also crotchety old man at times, I feel. But if you're going 10 miles an hour or less than the speed limit, stay in the right lane. Get out of the way. You have to be attentive of what's going around you also. People going the speed limit, you need to be attentive of what's going around you, and you need to stick to the right lane. If it's a 70 mile an hour zone and you're going 70, you probably should be in the right lane, middle lane. If it's a 3 lane, but if you're in that middle lane, still watch behind you. If somebody comes flying up behind you, you should try to get over out of their way. You're the one who, to me, you have a little bit of responsibility. On the flip side, the guy that comes flying up behind you while you're going 70 and he's going 90, and you're waiting for just that opportunity to maybe clear the car that's on your right so you can move over, get out of his way and that. And you want to make it a safe merge to the right. So you get around the vehicle, you practice driver's ed and go, oh, I can see the whole car in my rearview mirror, or you can get over. And as you're doing that, the guy who's going 90s already dove into that lane and trying to come up on you on the right side. No, you never pass on the right. It's kind of like crossing the mustard, i.e. the double yellow lines. You don't cross that center line into oncoming traffic. You don't try to pass somebody that you've come up on and in a high rate of speed on the right without giving them a moment of opportunity to get out of your way. Sometimes I think that's where the slow drivers get blamed because, oh, this guy was going slower than me and, I hit him, blah, blah, blah. And, it's a combination of responsibility. If you are a fast driver, adhere to the left, pass on the left, but be prepared to slow down. On the Autobahn, if you're in the left lane and you're booking along at let's say 125 miles an hour, I know they use kilometers, but say 125 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you look in the back, look in that rearview mirror, and you see some headlights coming up on you and they're flashing, you need to be looking to get over to the right, because this guy could be coming up on you at 170, and 50 mile an hour difference is quick. So you need to get over, and that's what they do. They play and treat lanes. You rarely will see somebody just live in that lane unless they are that guy going about 170, 180, because there's probably nobody faster than them. But they're going to give you warning that they're coming up by flashing their brights or flashing their lights. They're going to be prepared to slow down and not pass you on the right in most instances because they're expecting you to get over. And once we learn lane discipline, we'll eliminate a lot. It doesn't matter if you're going 10 miles an hour below the speed limit, you're going the speed limit, you're going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. It's not slow drivers. It's not fast drivers. It really comes down to lane discipline and paying attention. If you need to check your phone, which you shouldn't be, but if you need to check your phone, if you need to change your radio station, not even touch your phone, but or your climate control, scoot over to the right lane. Get out of the left lane because you are now not paying attention to the road. You're not paying attention to your travel. You need to pay attention when driving. And lane discipline is a big thing. I think that would eliminate, like I said, a lot of these problems that are going on. I hate ducking down here, but I've got it so that I can have my notes right in front of me. But as I got to click screens, my stupid tabs are right behind my camera. So sorry, I keep ducking down a little bit. But I came across a really neat, I just kind of did let's see what's going on in auto restoration. And I came across an 8-year restoration that was done to the oldest VW Beetle. It's a 1937 W30 prototype that was done with the Porsche, was built by the Porsche engineering office with support from Mercedes. This vehicle, 8-year restoration, just debuted. I believe it was yesterday. It's it's a very, what I want to say, boring looking car. It's very German. I mean, it's nondescript. It's kind of a primer gray color. It doesn't have a lot of extras, no bumpers or anything. But this is where the Beetle started, and it's kind of interesting that it is the oldest. I think it's the oldest surviving Beetle. 8-year restoration. That is an immense amount of time on a Beetle. If you think about how simple a Volkswagen Beetle is. I mean, there's YouTube videos on how to change the fan belt using a screwdriver while the motor's running, But, I always said 2,000 hours to properly restore a car with an interior, about 1,500 for a race car without an interior. This is 8 years. Now, I don't know if this is 8 years of somebody working on the car 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, or what, but it's like 8,000 hour restoration on a Beetle, 5,000 hour restoration on a Beetle. But then again, I'm not sure how many parts needed to be fabricated, because I'm sure you just couldn't get into your whatever Volkswagen catalog and order parts for this thing. They had to be sourced and dug through and kind of found, per se. Actually, recreated is probably the best way, because when you get into these very early prototypes, nothing's off the shelf. And right before I came into podcast, I said to the girlfriend, I'm going to go podcast. And she said, good luck. And, you know what you're going to talk about. And I kind of mentioned California Cars Act, the slow drivers, VWs. And I said, I don't want you to listen anyway, because we're going to talk about some of the cars that I might want to buy. And this is just weird to me. As I was saying at the beginning of the show, when I moved to Birmingham from Virginia, and I lived in Northern Virginia, the Fairfax area, and that, I was driving through McLean one day, Falls Church, and there was a Ferrari right before I moved. Like, I think I was moving on Monday, and this was Saturday or whatever, and I saw a Ferrari 360, and now that's the last Ferrari I'm going to ever see, because I'm going to Birmingham, Alabama. Going to hang out there and, roll tide and War Eagle and, I don't know, kiss my grits. Rest in peace, Flo. But I got down here and I got running with a pretty cool group of guys almost immediately. Of course, working at a car/motorcycle museum. Don't forget that motorcycle museum has more cars than most car museums do. And yeah, seeing Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Ford GTs and almost kind of, we came really close to having a Koenigsegg in town. There's Bugattis in the area. I mean, it's a really cool town and a really good stack of cars. There's a guy in town who's got a couple Pebble Beach winners, competes at Pebble Beach every year. Really cool prototypes. And this kind of goes back to, I lived in Hutchinson, Kansas from 1998 to year 2000 when I was in college, going to McPherson. And a couple of years ago, there was this huge auction from a guy that, I can't remember, if it was merry-go-rounds or bounce houses or whatever, but he made a ton of money that way. And he had this massive couple hundred car collection that was being auctioned in Huntsville, or excuse me, not Huntsville, Hutchinson, Kansas. And I'm going, man, it would have been cool to know that existed. And I was at the, hour away going to college. Well, I was living in Hutchinson. The college was about an hour away, learning about cars. Kind of wonder about Hoovy on that one. He just got his Mercedes 300 SL done by Mercedes Classic Center, that has Nate working there. And Nate's a graduate of McPherson a year or two after I did. But Hoovy's also got problems with his Packard. If you just buzz up from your Wichita house to an hour north, you could go to McPherson and those guys would tell you how to fix that Packard. Yeah. The car wizard's a little bit lost, but you got guys just up the street that's willing to help you. Maybe I should message Hoovy, unless you're listening, Hoovy. If you are, thanks. But just about an hour away from me here. Didn't know it existed. Started to read a little bit about it. Didn't think much about it. Car collection called the Generous Collection. I've read a few things about it. Recently watched Tom Cotter video on it. And these numbers come from Tom Cotter's video. Tom's actually a former guest on No Driving Gloves. I can't remember how far back he was. But just go to nodrivinggloves.com, search Tom Cotter, and you can find Tom Cotter's episode. But here's the numbers he listed in his YouTube video. You can also search Tom Cotter Generous Collection, and you can watch this video. And really cool video. Him and his son tour a little bit of this collection. And when I say a little bit, it's a 40-minute video, and they don't even touch on it. We're talking 259 Chevys, 109 Fords, 105 Cadillacs, 96 Pontiacs, 55 Mopars, 48 Lincolns, 35 Buicks, 24 Oldsmobiles. He says 12 Beetles. And then just in the video and some of the auctions that I've been watching, we've got Nashes, Porsches, Mercedes, Alfa, BMW, various dune buggies, Nissans, Mazdas, a couple of Mazda RX-7s with LS1 swaps or LS swaps, MGs, Jags, kit cars. It's just, there's one of the VW-based Bugatti kit cars in this collection. And one of the little snippets, the guy was talking to the owner of the collection, the guy's still alive and very coherent, and that has the collection. He's just getting rid of it. He's kind of asked, do you drive these? How often did you drive them? And he said, well, they were talking about a Chevelle, and he bought a Chevelle. He drove it for one weekend, and then it just went to his barn. And these are nice barns, concrete floors, and stuff that's kept inside was kept inside. Stuff that was kept outside is kept outside. Lots of Cadillacs. The guy loves his Cadillacs. A lot of stretch limos, a lot of funeral cars. One of the videos in the background, it's always been a little personal vehicle of mine, was one of the 84, 85, 86 Chrysler LeBaron executive sedans, which is basically a stretch wheelbase. It looks like a little limousine. I always thought they were cool. They really weren't that expensive for the day, not that much more than a Fifth Avenue. But a front wheel drive limousine. He had one of those sitting outside. So I'm pretty sure it's rusted away. This place in Jasper, Alabama. Like I said, about an hour away from me. Guy's got multiple buildings. I think he made all of his money making cardboard boxes for companies in that. He just did well, and he bought cars, and his dad instilled in him, his first car was a Cadillac, and he loves Cadillacs. And there's some people out there that just love Cadillacs. I kind of like Cadillacs. And he's got Elantes, he's got XLRs, he's got new, Eldorado Bromes. He's got stuff, 1949 Cadillacs. He's got 1959 Cadillac convertibles. He's got, you name it. I mean, this guy's really got it. And what's fascinating is he's auctioning the entire collection. And I've heard upwards of 1,500 cars. Tom said in his video, I wrote it down, so since I'm quoting him, 800 cars, 1,100 cars, 1,300 cars. Nobody really knows how many cars, or so they say. It's really interesting because a lot of the cars have little notebooks in them or pieces of paper that document when the car was last started, when it was run, when the oil was changed, basically little service records. And they try to start, I think they showed something and it got started 4 times a year. And then they showed it, I know it was a Nissan 300, a little bit rough condition, kept inside. It was started twice a year. So they were started and run, and but they walked up to, I think it was the XLR, and the battery was dead, so the electronic door handles didn't work. Well, maybe knock a couple bucks off. But all of these cars are being auctioned through Derek and I's favorite place, Hagerty.com, on their marketplace. They're going to run 2 auctions. Don't know how many cars. They're continuously listing in this time. But starting October 21st or something, so a couple days ago from the time of this broadcast, they're running a couple hundred cars on, like I said, Hagerty Marketplace. And some of the numbers are reasonable. And they're going to do this again in April. And the catch is, I think you need to, if you're going to get in, you need to start looking now. Because I think when this auction's concluded, this October auction's concluded, word's going to get out that this guy had some pretty decent stuff, or stuff that's right there and maybe with $1,000 or $2,000 of work is usable again and can be driven and well cared for. I think the prices we're going to see next April are going to be much higher than what we're rolling at now. Right now, I got a 86 Chevrolet Corvette convertible. Might be a little bit high, but $9,100. 87,000 mile 89 Ford F-150 XLT Lariat, $9,700, and this thing looks clean. Just looking at the casual pictures, the number of F-body Firebirds, WS6s, and convertibles in that. There's some, I don't want to call them brass era, but 30s, 31 Ford Model A. There's Willie's Customs. He's got a really nice Porsche 356 that might have actually already run. It's got this modified Porsche 1967 911 Coupe 5-speed. Now it's got 16 hours left, but it's been sitting right at 35. It's 34,911 as we're recording this. IROC Z convertible, 52,000 mile car. You probably need some tweaking in that. I'm not clicking reading. But $8,500, 83 on Alante. Let's see here. 5.9 liter 1959 Chrysler Windsor Golden Lion Resto Mod, $9,000. You might not be able to buy the wheels on this thing. I mean, it's got some funky ass 22s or something on it, but I don't think you could buy the wheel. Buy the wheels for $9,000. Ramblers, all kinds of Corvettes, all kinds of late 70s, early 80s Firebirds. Here's a 86 Toyota turbo 4x4 pickup. $11,200 as of right now, with 3 days left in the auction. 45,000 mile 87 GTA, 11.9. I mean, some of these things are just really good deals. 26 Ford Model T Sport Touring Project, $4,000. So it's going to need some work, but $4,000 and you're into a T. There's 3 days left, so who knows where it's going to end up. Or 28 Buick Master 6 sedan. If you want to be a little bit different, $4,250 right now, 3 days left. He's got Alphas here. He's got, oh gosh, I mean, it's just amazing to me what's in this collection. 7,000 mile 83 Cadillac Eldorado, 12.2. That might be all the money for that car, but God, it's a nice car. And 7,000 miles. I love this 55 Willys 2-door utility wagon Rat Rod he's running right now. Kind of slammed, no hood on it. I mean, it's got like SoCal, not SoCal, but it's got some surf shop painted on the side of it, hearkening back to California. Again, Camaros, Trans Ams, Lincolns, 78 Lincoln Continental Town Car. You want to be like the ultimate with your Malise era, $3,800, 4 days left. This one I'm tempted. Buick, or excuse me, my Buick, that's way off. Volkswagen 1600cc powered dune buggy, 4-speed. They kind of highlighted it on one of the videos I saw. It's not a cut pan car, so it's got a little bit of room in it. It's not a Manx. 4650, 4 days left. 240Z, 1970 240Z. Don't know if it's got rust in it or what, and you really got to look close, but 12.2. I mean, like I say, I can keep going, and these are the upcoming. I'm trying to find, I had sold, so we know where these things are going. Here's one of these LS1 powered 1987 Mazda RX-7 6-speeds. 9,200. It's pretty rough 55 Thunderbird. I think it runs, but it's got aftermarket wheels and that. 14.5. I mean, if you wanted a 57 T-Bird here, say there you go. Give me a second here while I try to scoot on through here. I want to find some of the sold stuff. Excuse me. Oh, normally I don't go to Hagerty's site, so I really don't know. Let's say all cars. Auctions, no reserve. Auction. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where. Try the good old search. I don't know. I can't find the sold numbers here. I feel so bad because some of those numbers, I mean, numbers I'm reading you are interesting, but some of the sold numbers were just as good. Let's see here. It's not that button. No, I can't find the sold list. Boy, that really sucks. I was going to get a couple more minutes out of you guys for that. But that's that's kind of what No Driving Gloves is supposed to be. This is a very car-centric episode. Very little John complaining or John tooting his own horn tonight. We got a lot going on. Remember Hustle and Heritage Incorporated. It's curated gifts for men or stuff men like. Check out hustleandheritage.com or visit one of our 3 locations in the Birmingham area. Painted Tree Boutiques and Grand River Pickers are 2 of the locations that you will find a Hustle and Heritage shop in. And lots of cool stuff. Follow the Instagram. You'll find some neat stuff. I've got gasoline scented candles or race gas scented candles, sawdust scented candles, motor oil scented candles, cigar scented candles for those that love the smell of a cigar but don't want a cigar around. People walk into the cigar shop and go, "Oh man, I love this smell." Well, now you can have it without necessarily having the cigar and a nice, pleasant candle. Lots of other stuff. Got some cool ass drink tumblers. I got some neat stuff dropping in the next couple of days. So follow Hustle and Heritage over on Instagram or Facebook. Usually the cross post, but sometimes you get something interesting on one that's not on the other. But, the Hustle and Heritage is what's paying for the No Driving Gloves podcast right now. And I think I'm just going to quickly cut it off here instead of drone on and on and on. Respect your time. Try to give you some value. If I am giving you value, go buy us a coffee. NoDrivingGloves.com/coffee. And check out the website, NoDrivingGloves.com. That's a lot to tell you to do, a lot of calls to actions. But we know the key call to action on a No Driving Gloves podcast is it's time to get off your ass, go burn some gas, because John is out.